Hello guys, welcome to another video and Banana Luck here. Today we'll be talking about artifacts, artifact rates in general, and also what do the artifacts do and like how would they be helpful. So in case you weren't aware, under your heroes, other than the gears that you can equip, there's also this artifact section. And if you are first starting out, you probably won't care about this at all until you get to a later stage where you have more maxed out gear, because I'll go on to why that's important later. But basically most of these artifacts come with like a special ability, and some of it is class limited. So that means for this particular one, you can see that it's for marksmen, so that's why Setrum is carrying it. But if I go to like Vienna, for example, you will see that the artifact that we were equipping on Setrum earlier will be blacked out, which means that it's not available to him. So most of the higher tier legendary as well as mythic artifacts, those are going to be class limited, which will make sense once you start seeing what's the pool of artifacts that you actually have access to. So the reason why I said that people normally don't farm this early is because if you look at the Forge button, there's 3 types of Meteorites. So this is the broken one, then there's the Radiant, and then the best one is Flawless. So in a sense, it's the same as how heroes are colored, Epic, Legendary, and then Mythic. So Mythic is like gear, same like your gears, it's the best class of gear that you can get. So you can see that the difference lies in what type of gear, the tier that you receive. So the ones in the broken ones you should just avoid, because these gears are typically, gonna give you artifacts most of the time, and it's not gonna be really helpful. It's mostly just flat stats like defense, attack. Then this one increases by 8%, this one by 400 HP, and then this crit rate. So you probably get a feel of it when trying to clear the storyline, but don't get too hung up on upgrading this. I made that mistake, but I'll advise that you should avoid doing so. So you should ignore this because it's going to be 90% epic, so yeah, this doesn't make sense. And if we go into the Radiant Meteorites, things start to get a little bit interesting here because there's a 5% chance to get the mythic ones. And you can see that there's quite a lot of things going on, but I won't go through every one of it. But one artifact that probably has caught everyone's attention, this was actually it's called Oleg's War. It's for defenders. And last week, or rather 2 weeks back, when there was the Treasures in the Deep event, this was one of the artifacts that was up for grabs, and I took it without hesitation because I know how much help it will be actually in terms of progression, especially with maps that are split up into 2, and my defender can't really hold without attacker that's strong enough to kill the creeps in time. So what it actually does is that, most importantly, increases block by 1, which means that it can block 4 units, and also there's physical and magical damage reduction by 4% for every block. So that means you can get up to 16% of damage reduction across both physical and magic sources. So that's just one thing, one of the juicy relics. I think for healers, there's this Orb of Euphoria, and it increases attack speed. So I think this is really helpful when it comes to like guild boss, for example. I think every single way that you can find attack speed to boost your units will help a lot. And for marksmen, I'm just gonna point out like 1 or 2 artifacts from each class. I really like this one, especially for gear rate 3. So I have it on my Nyx at the moment, and since Nyx has such a high range, it makes sense for this artifact to only give an AoE damage increase by 20% when there's no enemies within 1 tile, which makes a lot of sense for gear rate 2 because your enemies are probably going to be very far away. And even if these benefits don't entice you, you must also account for the fact that the base stacks for mythic artifact, it's way higher than one for legendary. So we're seeing 2.2k HP and 800 attack. And if you look at the legendary ones, it's going to be about less than half of it. And if we drop down to the epic ones, it's just going to get even more pathetic. So that's why I recommend, only farming this when you're at the end stage. And I'll just feature one last one. Let's see. No, not this one. Not this one. You just look at Scarlet Hunt. I think this is quite a classic artifact because everyone gets it from the story mode. So you can see that it does 20% extra damage to bleeding targets. So one thing that you need to take note about this is that if let's say you have multiple pieces of this artifact, as long as you have a unit that does bleeding, like Salazar, Komodo, it means that every other fighter that's around the same unit will deal extra damage as long as Salazar or Komodo actually inflicts bleeding on them, the bleeding effect. So this is, I think, one of the artifacts that most people go for in the end game, especially when it comes to guild boss, because 20% extra damage is just a lot more than what you'll find in the other artifacts that you see here. And another thing to note that I realized is also that the artifacts, you can see that on the Flawless Meteorites, there's a lot more artifacts. And let me just look for one. You can see that I actually have this on my set room, where it reduces max HP and increases crit damage by 20%. So this was not actually available in the Legendary Forge, only in the Mythic. So I think that's just another reason for you to only consider farming artifact when you can just farm the Flawless Meteorites freely. So that's just the intro to the artifacts. Now I'll just run through what the artifact rates look like and what is it mainly focused on. So if we just head in here under artifact material rates, you can see that I haven't really cleared much of it. It actually takes quite a while for people to clear through everything because this particular rate is more focused on fighters and defenders. So if you are lacking units in that area, it will be really, really tough for you to proceed. And you'll understand why very soon. This is the first sample stage, so I won't bother with it. And let's just try stage 6, for example. So if you look at the map here, so you're going to face Salazar, and what he actually does, he has all the spells that, I think he just has the ulti. So it means that if you are crowding your fighters and defenders, it's going to hit all of them. And one thing to note is that once he walks out and he reaches like this area, he will start casting a spell which will start summoning all these little mobs that come. And these little mobs don't really do much harm to your units. They actually boost Salazar when he reaches the right range. And that's going to be troublesome because once they reach Salazar, he just becomes exponentially stronger. And you probably won't see it in the earlier stages, but once you get to the later stages, you'll realize how important it is to kill him as soon as you can, or just try to block off as many pathways where the mobs can come in as you can. So let's just try this really quickly. And you can see that he's going to walk in here. And there's also a trick for this, which is that, so that's a spell. And if let's say you cast, or rather you place your units, the moment that his foot, the front foot, actually touches the tile, what you actually get is that he will be, it will look like he is in this tile, but at the same time, you can also put units that hit him here as well. So this is going to be especially important when you get to the later stages, because the arrangement is slightly different. But I'll just put regulars here for you to see like how much stronger he gets once he gets upgraded. And I'll just fast forward this. And bearing in mind that my regulars is 6-star, so that's why he's not doing any damage. Yeah, but we are probably gonna see him, you see. Yeah. Every one parasitic beholder, his damage is gonna increase by 10%. You can see that you can actually place units all over the place. So as long as you have enough decent fighters, you can probably just put one or two to block off the entrance, and then you can put the rest of them to just kill Salazar as soon as you can. But you see that the game isn't gonna let you go on forever just defending. You also need to kill it quickly because there's actually no unit for me to block this tower. It means that if the fight drags on long enough, the parasitic beholders are gonna get through anyways. Like there's no way for you to stop it. And we're just gonna wait for that to happen. And you can still see like tiles, or rather the tiles, the platform tiles at the moment. So this is perfect for if let's say you want to put like a healer down, and then you can put an archer or marksman or mage at the other side. But once you get to the later stage, you know, that's gonna be very limited. You're only gonna get one tile. I'll just show you that really quickly. It's taking a lot longer than I expected. So what I'm gonna do is just unsummon this. And I'm just gonna put my Wrath in, who's not geared as well. Let's see if... yeah, you can see it's quite a lot of damage. But my Wrath deals quite a decent amount of damage. And you can see that the last thing to note here is that once you kill Salazar, the units actually die. Or rather you clear the quest. So that means that there's also a strategy where you should just kill Salazar as soon as you can and just use defenders to block off the paths. But that means that you're not going to put a healer instead. So let me just move on to the later stage. And maybe I'll just show you guys stage 15, how this pack plans out. So I think that might be too high for me. Let me try this stage instead. You can see that Salazar walked in here, and that's where the trick that I was sharing earlier helped, because if let's say I'm just gonna wait for his right foot to step into the tile before I place down my abomination. Okay, so I'm just gonna place him here. And this way, when I put units at the side, they're gonna hit him. And even if Wrath, you see his... so Zilito has an attack tile that's extending, so he's gonna hit for sure, but let's say I put Wrath here, you see he's still gonna be able to hit Salazar. And I'll just show you quickly what happens if you just, you know, put a bomb from the start. Put Wrath here, it's not gonna attack him at all. So that's just a nick trick that I learned from the other YouTube channels when I was watching them. So yeah, just make sure you use that trick as much as possible. You can see that Wrath is also able to clear the units here at the side, but you can see that there's only one tile, and normally people put a healer here. So that means for the side tiles, you either put a really beefy defender, or you end up putting a defender that just doesn't die as easily. And you can see that in the later stages, there's this Woos thing, which you have seen in the campaign, and they actually combine together. So if let's say I put my Zilito here, I kill him, kill these two units, you can see that it's gonna disappear very quickly. But if let's say I let them combine, they're gonna be a lot stronger. You can see that my Torador is not doing as much damage as I would have hoped. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for like the normal way that you do this. Let me show you guys how I'm actually clearing stage 15. So if I just head on over here and go to stage 15, you're gonna see how I just blast through this stage with Silas instead. So it's very straightforward. Once I hit it, I'm just going to put Silas down so that he clocks enough bridge points. And I'm just going to put a bomb now in. The 2 as well. I'm just going to activate everything. And I'm just trying to kill everything, you know, before the other units hit in. Oh shit. Okay, you can see that I didn't put my regulars in time. So that's why that failed. So in my auto run, I actually have that done right. So let me just do the auto run so that it's simpler for you guys to see. Yep. You can see that I placed Zilito on the side, and you're gonna see why later, because earlier Zilito was hitting the units that came through here. But this time around, I'm going to put Torador in. It's going to block. So that means that Zilito won't hit it at all. I can see that way you see I kill Salazar before the second wave of creeps even come in. So those are just the 2 strategies that I figured out. You know, you either tank it through, you know, have a healer to heal you up, or you just go with my method, which is that, you know, use brute force to kill Salazar before he even comes in. And I think that's what I would recommend, because you're normally going to come into artifact raids much geared up, like compared to the other raids that you hit into. So it just makes more sense that you actually start off that way instead. So with that, I'm going to end off the video, but I actually just got a... So I had the Overlord ranking, and I got an Ancient Summon Crystal, and just going to try my luck, and yeah. Hope for something good. Oh my goodness! We weren't expecting that. I mean, is he a lord? Oh, is he a lord? He is a lord. Wow. Okay, Moontun, thank you very much. For all the suffering that I've gathered from the past weekend. I really needed this, so I'm just gonna look into this hero, and yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.